We are in the future.
And that's right!
It's me, Dire Gentleman, and the Diamond Authority from Steven Universe are genocidal tyrants, whether the cartoon means to treat them as sympathetic or not. This trio of mean, non-green mamas from outer space comprised roughly 1/3 of the material in my Genius video. Genocide themes in cartoons, yeah, we're going there. And yeah, we're still going there, because a children's cartoon inviting the audience to humanize oppressive authority figures is a topic that requires a lot of nuanced discussion. Whether you love or hate Steven Universe, the fact is that the show's influence is wide-reaching, and the ramifications of it, including genocide themes along with offering redemption to the characters who perpetuated it, is important to debate. As a reviewer, I am drawn to stories with big ideas to unpack, and the moral framework of Steven Universe is filled with lofty implications. We can absolutely disagree about what certain morals say about the cartoon and the intentions behind it, but the first step to any conversation about quality is to acknowledge what is present in the work itself. Well, imagine my shock when the Round Table, one of the biggest cartoon theory channels out there, released this video. Stop saying the diamonds are redeemed. Okay, video title, I'm so convinced. While there are many other similar videos defending what Steven Universe has done with the diamonds, this one has the largest audience, so the YouTube rats demand I keep my analysis in this video focused on that one. Within the video, Ostrich Vox, the host of the video and primary face of the Round Table, speculates that the diamonds, in addition to not being redeemed, weren't even genocidal. Roll clip 212.
By glorifying Steven's actions and his ability to appease the diamonds, a lot of people feel that the show itself is also glorifying the diamonds, which many write off as ruthless, tyrannical, genocidal beings, and the last part isn't true. We actually have written proof that the diamonds weren't genocidal.
So I hear that, and I'm thinking, WTF, now I have to watch an entire 20-minute roundtable video to find evidence of a claim, which I already know is false because I've seen every episode of the show. Damn you, Ostrich Vox! Don't you know that burying the lead is just a cheap tactic to make weak videos stronger? Oh, and behavior in the movie.
Just look at how the diamonds act in the movie. It's been 2 years. Steven has dismantled the Empire. And yes, he has brought his definition of peace to the galaxy. Yet, how do the diamonds interpret this? I mean, they quite literally have a song where they try to adore Steven, convincing him to stay on Homeworld, so if they were redeemed, they would definitely sing about how Steven has shown them the joys of life, right? How he's opened their eyes and really show them a perspective they never considered before, right? Well, how come instead they sing about, well, Steven, you remind us of Pink Diamond, so you should stay, and also we did everything you asked us to.
His point here is that the diamonds are acting entitled and not having remorse for their actions, instead focusing on getting Steven to like them. So, by that logic, they can't be redeemed because they have attitude problems. Of course, if that were true, and major personality defects made all the difference between a character being good or evil, Amethyst and Pearl would have been evil up until the middle of Season 5. And is there really any character in the show that isn't obsessed with validation from Steven? I'm not saying that I believe that these characters are evil, but if characters acting contentious in this way is an issue, the way the show is written complicates Ostrich Vox's conclusions. Now, Ostrich Vox could be saying that Yellow, Blue, and White are a special case since they were most recently hit with the redemption stick, so we as an audience need to be more perceptive of their bad behavior. He certainly takes it as a given that the song they sing to Steven is proof of them being selfish, because they only want a replacement Pink Diamond and don't really comprehend the good that Steven has offered. He'd almost be right if that was the only song the Diamonds sang in the movie, but it isn't. As a matter of fact, the very first song the Diamonds sing is The Tale of Steven, which is literally all about how compassionate and understanding Steven was, even when the diamonds themselves were at their worst.
Ever compassionate. Can you imagine me? Even with us at our worst.
Granted, the diamonds aren't singing on screen during this sequence, but their voice actors are the singers and the lyrics are clearly from their perspective. The fact is, the diamonds do canonically respect Steven's vision for the universe, and the comically needy way they acted throughout the rest of that movie is just that. Comic relief. The diamonds are being written this way because there is no other authentic way to portray their characters without causing them to slip back into outright villainy. What is happening here is not the evidence that the diamonds are still villains, but rather is further proof that Steven Universe has written itself into a corner trying to make them sympathetic. It's funny because the one observation that Ostrich Vox makes that I do agree with is that the diamonds aren't developed enough as characters to truly be considered redeemed, which honestly seems less like a defense of the show's direction, and more like pointing out the same legitimate flaws in the writing that other critics are. If it's at all possible to frame this as a defense of the show, it's only through the same lens of endless speculation and wild theorycraft that spawns channels like the Round Table to begin with. I'm not trying to call Ostrich Vox or his work dishonest, because any media project as carefully curated as the Round Table is bound to run into limitations. What I take issue with is that approaching the material without taking into account those limitations can lead to particularly troubling outcomes, especially when the subject of the video is genocidal cartoon villains, and the goal is to debunk the fictional genocide using any slim justification that will preserve the stand's confirmation bias. Speaking of which, let's get into that. At around 14 minutes in, Ostrich Vox dredges up a tweet from OKKO series creator and former co-developer of Steven Universe, Ian Jones-Quartey, that featured an initial outline of the backstory of Homeworld and the Crystal Gems. Ostrich Vox then brings our attention to a fan's reply tweet in IJQ's response. It is from this brief social media exchange that Ostrich Vox extrapolates his entire argument about the diamonds not being genocidal.
Okay, it's apparent from this outline and the clarification tweet that the diamonds only really encountered maybe just animals and plant life on other planets that they colonized, but Earth was the very first time they encountered someone like human beings, someone like us, so it's implied other alien species that could be humanoid like us, sentient and intelligent like us, and thus where the true issue of genocidal tyrants came into play never really existed. All this time, people have been working themselves up about an issue that didn't exist. The diamonds weren't genocidal.
This was the part of the video that began to set off some alarm bells in my head. Not only is Ostrich Vox using the public statements of a creator to retroactively alter the meanings of their text, his assertion that this in any way absolves the diamonds of being genocidal would still be wrong on multiple levels. Even if we take it as a given that humans were the only intelligent beings that the diamonds had ever encountered, which isn't even what Ian Jones-Quartey said, mind you, the diamonds' actions on the planet Earth are still, by definition, genocide. I'm not just talking about the creation of the kindergartens and the inevitable fallout from the Gem War either. The existence of the Diamond's human zoo necessarily implies that only a select number of humans would be offered the mercy of captivity. Think about what that means for all the remaining humans on Earth. Really think about it. By the time Rose Quartz had made her appearance as Homeworld's enemy, the Diamonds were already well aware that they were committing genocide against an intelligent race. To suggest otherwise would be to infantilize the Diamonds and paint them as giant children, which, given that this is the Steven Universe fandom we're talking about, I wouldn't be surprised if someone did. I do find it a little ironic that Ostrich Vox, a YouTube creator who has made dozens of theory videos about Steven Universe, somehow didn't take this very basic information into account when appraising the Diamond Authority for acts of genocide. It gets worse when he starts bringing up Yellow, Blue, and White's undeniable crimes against their own people.
Sure, they killed their own, but it's not like they were on a warpath to destroy each and every gem. They had a system. Everyone fell into line to place. If you didn't fit in that place, you were shattered. Was it awful? Of course. Does that make them genocidal tyrants? No.
Sorry, Ostrich Vox, but the traits you're ascribing to the Diamonds are a textbook description of fascism. Specifically, the mechanisms through which fascist governments create divisions in a population through the extermination of undesirables. This, too, necessarily leads to a form of genocide. Not in the banal execution of some random three-armed Peridot or a mixed gem fusion, but in the coordinated effort to shatter the crystal gems on Earth. Keep in mind that many genocides in the real world are perpetuated over differences as minute as religion. As soon as the crystal gems adopted a new philosophy and stopped worshipping the Diamonds, it became fair game to start calling what the Diamonds were doing to them genocide. The excuse that this mass murder was against their own caution of another cultural group that can't be anything other than genocide. Also, Yellow Diamond was definitely aware that humans were still on the planet when she sent Peridot to check on the cluster. If all had gone according to plan, the cluster would have emerged and destroyed all life remaining on Earth, and the Diamonds, or at least Yellow Diamond, would have been totally cool with that. So even if Ostrich Vox drops the mic after substantiating his false premise with what I'd call a lol JK after fantasy author J.K. Rowling, there is still a world of provable details within Steven Universe itself which nonetheless confirms that the Diamonds are genocidal. I didn't even need to argue against the points he thinks he's making about genocide. That came out wrong. What I mean to say is, it wouldn't kill the average adult Steven Universe fan to do some homework on the historical atrocities that the show mirrors, both in its narrative and its symbolism. Sure, it's possible to interpret Yellow Diamond threatening to shatter her own soldiers for hesitating to finish off the native population during a planetary invasion as just being a stern mom bossing her children around, rather than it being a cruel tyrant commanding a genocide, but the show itself supports both interpretations. With or without outside statements from the show's creators, genocide is an obvious and unavoidable part of the subtext of Steven Universe. To deny the presence of genocide themes in Steven Universe would be as glaring an oversight as claiming that fusion was simply a technique designed for battle. I rest my case, triumphant in battle, but not in war. With the recent announcement of Steven Universe Future, it's crystal clear that the discourse around this and many other topics in the show is far from over. And since I foolishly promised to cover Season 6, whatever it may be, in the Spinel video, looks like I'm pretty much locked in until the endgame. As much fun as it is clowning on the round table and other pernicious elements of this fandom, the prospect of more of this show does fill me with a certain positive glow. If you'd... oh god! That was the glow coming out. If you'd like to be there for the future, subscribe to this channel, and while you're at it, ring the notification bell to stay in the loop. I don't know how far away that future is, but you best believe I'll be present for it. In the meantime, keep YouTube weird, folks.